just told you not to knock that over. And welcome to another video. My name is Kenna and I'm so excited to have you here with me today. Today we are going to be talking about some of the plants that I have been influenced to buy by some of my fellow YouTubers. So I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to YouTube entertainment, the channels that I watch a lot of plant videos. And the plant videos that I watch tend to kind of influence what I'm doing, what I'm buying, and just what my plant collection looks like. So there are a lot of plants that I have purchased because of YouTube videos that I've seen, and I want to share some of those with you today, and whether they were a good decision or a bad decision. All of them are still alive, so that's always a pro. But if you like this kind of video, go ahead and leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below if there's anyone who has ever influenced you to buy a plant and what that plant was, because I would love to hear what you guys are purchasing because you've seen them online. I personally am one of those people, so I just find it really interesting. But like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the ones that I have, and let's get into it. So I have quite a lot of help today. I have both dogs jumping up and down in my lap. I have Luna right here, and she is demanding all of the attention. So I'm trying to keep her from knocking over my plants. But the first plants that I wanted to start with are the ones that I was influenced to buy because of really big plants. Like I said, I really enjoy her channel. She actually recently moved. So she moved over, I think, 400 houseplants. It was a lot of plants, and honestly, like, buds. Honestly, I cannot imagine moving with my collection, let alone like 400 plants. That's just wild. Anyways, but I started watching her channel probably about a year ago now, and she definitely has a ton of plants and seems to be keeping most of them alive, so that's always a good thing. And she's definitely influenced me to buy a few plants. So anyone who doesn't know, I actually started most of my plant collection about a year ago. I definitely took a headfirst dive, as we can see from all of the plants in the background here, and I started with a Monstera deliciosa. Monstera deliciosa is a really common plant. We see it obviously in big box stores. However, it is still one of my favorite plants, and I'm going to insert a picture of it here because it is a really big plant and I am definitely not moving it for this video. But it is a plant that, you know, we see a lot in stores and, you know, a lot online. And obviously there's the Thai constellation and the albo and all of those, you know, different varieties of the deliciosa. However, the original green deliciosa is one of my favorites. And I actually have a goal this year, and I'm looking at it over here behind the camera. I actually have a goal this year to get some double fenestration on those leaves. I haven't gotten any double fenestrated leaves as long as I've had it. And I think that's a combination of fertilizing and light. So I did repot it recently. I am fertilizing it more often, and I do have it in a south-facing window. So I think with all of those things together, it should hopefully put out some really beautiful big leaves for me this year, and I am really excited to see it. I actually do have 2 new leaves right now, and I'll again put a picture right here that are coming in. Neither of them are double fenestrated, of course, but I'm still crossing my fingers. I'm hoping. But yes, I love the Monstera deliciosa, and I definitely purchased one because of really big plants, ginormous ones that she has in her house, and I just love them. And the next plant that I purchased because of really big plant is a Hoya obovata. Mine is actually a Hoya obovata variegata splash, and I'm gonna show you guys here these leaves. I absolutely love this plant. It is the first Hoya that I think I really purchased. There are other Hoyas that, you know, I had cuttings of, but this is the first one that I searched out to buy. And I really love this plant. It needs a little bit of a wash down. It's a little dusty, but the leaves themselves are just gorgeous. They're super thick, really pretty in general with their splashing, but then they have the variegation on top of that. And I think Really Big Plants, I think hers is just the Hoya Obovata Splash. I don't think she has the variegated version. The variegated version kind of fell into my lap. It was what popped up when I asked about the Hoya Obovata. So I am not at all upset about it. I really love this variegation. And again, it's just so pretty. I do have it underneath a grow light, and it seems to be doing really well there. And I have it in a really chunky potting mix. It gets watered about, I want to say, once every like 7 to 10 days. And because it is a Hoya, it does have a little bit of a succulent nature. It is perfectly fine with that. It doesn't seem to mind it at all. But I really love this plant. If you don't have one, I would definitely recommend it. I would say it's probably one of the easier Hoyas. And it grows super fast, actually. I've had it, originally it was just the 2 leaves, and then I've had it put out 6 different leaf couplets and is working on a 7th over here. And sorry, I meant 6 different leaves, and it's working on 7 and 8 over here. So I love this plant. Definitely recommend if any of you guys are interested picking one up. And yeah, I purchased it because of Really Big Plants. Okay, so I had to sacrifice my lap for this young lady. She absolutely refused to just lay there nicely and let me film. So you will probably see a little bit of her ears while I'm filming this. Hopefully she doesn't knock anything over. Next plant on my list here, yes, is the Nepenthes. So this one is a Nepenthes Saint Gaia variety. And I do not claim, Luna, I do not claim to be an expert on Nepenthes at all. However, I do think they're really interesting plants. So I live obviously in North America over in Florida, and the Nepenthes is actually one of the plants that is native to the United States. So in the bogs area, like Louisiana and those places where the soil nutrition is very low, but it's very wet a lot of the time, that's where these guys come from. So I do have it in a self-watering container with really, I don't want to say barren, but just nutritionally like lacking substrate. So I have it in, I think, moss, perlite, and bark, I think is what I ended up putting it in, and it loves it. It has been growing pretty steadily for me, putting out new pictures. As you can see, this one I think is the newest, and it is super cute. I really love these little pictures, and it's starting to get bigger too, which I'm really excited about. For a while there, it was staying pretty small, and I think the reason it was staying small is it wanted a little bit more light. These plants do actually grow, obviously, in the understory on the ground floor underneath trees and things that are going to be blocking their light. I just told you not to knock that over. Anyways, now that we've gotten past this agent of chaos in my lap, but they grow obviously in the understory, so while they don't get a ton of light, they do still like a fair amount of light. So I actually have it on the shelf. I don't really think you can see it, but it's back here. That is an east facing window, and I have it on the front of that shelf, so the farthest away from the window. And it seems to be really happy there. It's definitely liking the light, I feel like, and it's putting out, like I said, those bigger leaves, more pictures, which I'm so excited about. And again, this one in particular is my favorite. This is the new one, and it's just so cute. It's the biggest one I've had. It's probably like the size of almost 2 of my pinky knuckles, which is not impressive. They can get huge, but I really like this one. And I did get it, again, because of Really Big Plants. Hers, I think, was like a chop and prop situation for a while, and I was watching the video of her doing this, and I ended up just getting one for myself because I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I've always actually wanted a pitcher plant, but I didn't realize they could be house plants. Here in Florida, most of our plants are outside. So anything you can grow in like a tropical region will grow outside here in Florida. We don't really get colds. It's pretty humid, it's pretty warm. There's a good amount of light for sure all year round. So I've only ever seen these grown outside, but I did, like I said, get one after seeing Really Big Plants, and so far so good. It's been doing pretty well for me. Okay, so next up, I want to talk about some of the plants that I've purchased because of Becca De La Plants. I think she was the second YouTuber that I really started watching regularly. I love her videos. She is such a sweet soul. I feel like you can just tell by watching. And I love how excited she gets about her plants. So I have purchased a couple of plants because of her. And I think the first one was my philodendron adipopoens. Mine is a little crazy, so it is all over the place here. I am trying to tame it with this moss pole, but so far it hasn't latched on, so it's still a little everywhere. But I think one of the first videos that I actually saw Becca make, I ended up seeing her philodendron adipopoens. Anyways, but like I said, I think one of the first videos I ever watched of Becca's, I saw her philodendron adipopoens, and hers started, I think, as a cutting that was gifted to her. And something about these leaves, the red abaxials, I'm trying to get a good, it's kind of a silvery red abaxial, the silvery green, just really unique coloration of obviously the front of the leaves, and then the shape. I really love the lance shape of these leaves, and as they get more mature, they do get a little bit more defined, like lobes up here, as you can see. The more mature leaves that I have are the original leaves on a cutting, I believe, so they are not, you know, putting out the same size as they are now, so the older ones are pretty beat up. But I am gradually getting it to size up a little bit more bit by bit, and actually it has activated new growth points down at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there is like a new little growth point coming out really weirdly. But I will take it. I am perfectly happy with any new growth that my plant is putting out. And I think this one was actually a really good choice. It's pretty easy to grow. It's not super available, but I did find one for Etsy, on Etsy, and I found one for sale as well in like a purge group. So they're somewhat available. I don't think they're super like rare or anything. And honestly, it's just a great plant to have in my collection. It's pretty, I really enjoy it, and it brings me some happiness when I see it. So definitely a good pick, I think, from Becca, and I recommend getting one of these if you don't have one. Okay, so next plant is this cutie. This is my Euphorbia White Ghost. And this one I also bought because of Becca. She has a really, really huge one. And something about it just reminds me like the bones of a dragon. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on there mentally for me, but I just really love the way that like it looks kind of like a spine. Mine is growing a little bit crooked, a little bit weird, which is fine with me. The window I have it in right now is an east-facing window, and it kind of leans towards the light and then started growing up. But it seems to be pretty happy. It seems to be doing well. It's keeping its color. I'm kind of scared of this one reverting just because I do already have a green one, and while I love it, I really love this white one as well. I love the color, and yeah, if you don't have one, I think this one's pretty easy. The only requirements that I really have for it is I water it every now and then. I don't even have like a really set schedule for it, and then it does get a fair bit of light. It does like the light to grow. Obviously, it's not gonna grow if you keep it somewhere dark. So when I got it, it was about here. So this entire like chunk up top here, I think, is the new segment. And it's doing pretty well for me. I really like it, and it's, like I said, pretty easy to grow. So if you don't have one, I would definitely recommend picking one up. And Becca, again, influenced me to get one myself, and I really love it. Okay, so the next plant that Becca influenced me to buy is actually a pretty recent one, both for her and for me. She got a philodendron goeldii, and actually I think it's a Thematophyllum sprucianum now, which I'm just not used to. I'm probably gonna keep calling it the goeldii on accident, but it is, when it gets really mature, I'll put in a photo here, it gets like these fingers almost, and it looks so cool. Right now mine only have like the 3 lobes, and because it is a fairly recent purchase, the leaves are still a little crumpled, but you can kind of see how it gets, you know, separated as it grows out. And I just think it's really cool. She got one, like I said, on, I think it was like a trip somewhere that she'd gone, and she brought it back, and it's a little unruly. It kind of does go everywhere, but I really enjoy it. I think it's super cool. And though mine is still pretty small right now, I am waiting for it to grow, and I'm really excited to get those really like cool like rings of just the finger leaves. I really love unusual leaves on a plant, I will say. it's definitely a draw for me. If a plant has unusual leaves or like just looks a little different, it's probably one that I'm gonna want to pick up. So this one caught my eye and I really love it. I don't really know much about its care yet in my care. I've only had it maybe about a week. Right now it is in my bedroom, an east-facing window. Right, the humidity in there is probably right around 50% up, because when I shower it goes up, so it gets a nice little burst of like 70% humidity every day. And it doesn't seem unhappy. It's not, you know, browning or anything, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it and I'll keep you guys up to date on my philodendron goeldii / Thaumatophyllum spruceanum. Okay, so next I want to talk about wild fern. Fern here on YouTube is really popular. I feel like a lot of people watch her videos and I just really enjoy them. I love like playing them while there's, you know, stuff going on, like while I'm cooking or whatever. And they just are really calming to me, really soothing. And she has a really beautiful plant collection, honestly. Her entire home is pretty much plants. And while that does, oh, thank you, buds. While that does require a lot of like grow lights and a lot of places, especially, you know, up in Canada where there's not a lot of light throughout the year, she makes it work. Her plants are gorgeous and definitely an inspiration to my own collection. And I can definitely say there's a lot of plants that I probably bought because of her, but I do want to talk about probably the most prominent ones in my collection. So first up is my begonia Sinbad. I am kind of unreasonably excited about this plant, so pardon my excitement. I am so happy. This is a really recent acquisition. Actually the same order as the goeldii. Anyways, but the same order as my goeldii, I did get this one in and I am kind of in love. So Fern talks about her Sinbad fairly frequently. Actually I haven't heard her talk about it in a while, but I've been influenced to buy more cane begonias. I really love my begonia maculata, which is actually rerooting right now. I cut it back and I'm rooting, you know, what I have. And I love the cane begonias. I love their shape, but I was kind of looking for something that didn't look just like the maculata, like a lot of cane begonias end up doing. And this one, the begonia frosty Sinbad, is one that, like I said, Fern's been talking about for ages, and I mean, we can see why. It is so beautiful. Those leaves are almost shiny and silvery, and they have such a like unique texture. It's really unusual. It almost feels like the soft side of Velcro, kind of. It's hard to describe, but I really love it. It's a little bit wonky, as you can see. It's growing like this. I am kind of tempted to chop and prop it, but it looks so happy, and actually it did come to me in bloom. I think there's just really this one bloom left. They didn't really ship very well, but it's still really cute. So I'm kind of tempted to chop and prop. I'm kind of tempted to wait. You guys will probably be kept up to date with what I do either way, because this plant is probably going to be one of my new obsessions. I just really enjoy it and I wanted to share it with you guys. From what I've read, currently I'm keeping it in the east-facing window, again, behind me over here. And this room does have fairly good humidity, usually around 60-ish%, with my humidifier going. So this one does require a little bit more humidity. So far, so good at 60%. I haven't really noticed any crisping or anything. And like I said, I have had it for like a week or so now. So if there was gonna be a humidity issue, I feel like it would have shown itself. The leaves did not enjoy getting shipped, I will say that. So I do have a few leaves that are a little bit banged up, but so far so good. I am gonna keep an eye on it and hopefully it will be happy where I have it. Okay, so the next plant that Fern influenced me to buy is this Hoya croniana Splash. So I don't know the difference between the Hoya croniana Splash and the Hoya croniana Super Silver, but I kind of feel like I have both in this basket. So this is kind of a normal vine. This one is pretty green, has a lot of splash in it, but it's fairly just solid green. And then I have this one. And this one is pretty much solid silver. And it is so pretty. And I'm talking about this one, there we go. This one right here. So pretty, super, super silvery. So I don't know if this one is super silver and a just normal splash in one pot. Either way, it's really pretty. It has put out a few new leaves in my care, and I'm kind of excited because I haven't seen a peduncle, but I feel like if I'm going to get a Hoya blooming, it's gonna be a more mature one. I feel like Ferns has bloomed for her. I'm not sure on that. I might be wrong. But when I saw this in her collection, I absolutely knew like it was gonna be on my wish list. I think it is so pretty. I actually have it hanging in this window right here. This is a south window, and I wanted plants that were going to be in that window for, you know, hanging purposes. So I did get this one. And as it's already trailing and it's just so pretty and green, I thought it would be lovely there. And I'm correct, it is quite pretty. And I hope it's happy there, and I hope that maybe I can get it to start blooming for me, because that would be kind of the ultimate excitement for this particular plant. But yes, so Fern has influenced me to buy a Hoya croniana. Okay, and the last plant that Fern has influenced me to buy, I have definitely shown off to you guys before, but this is my Philodendron Majestic, and I love this plant. I feel like it's looking really, really good on camera right now, which I'm happy about. Right now it is out in the greenhouse. It did have some spider mites, and there is some damage, and actually the new leaf, I think, is suffering from both underwatering and spider mite damage, unfortunately. So that's kind of a bummer. I might end up having to actually chop and prop this one soon, but that's kind of exciting to me because I would love to see, you know, some big leaves just starting from like maybe here up. I think it would be awesome. But right now, because it is getting so much light, all of the leaves are kind of facing down. And actually a couple did get sunburnt too, which again was my bad. As we're getting into summer here, the sun is getting more intense, and I feel like maybe I didn't rotate it back well enough, or I don't know what happened exactly, but it did get a little sunburnt, so I am sad about that. But it is still just a gorgeous plant. Ferns is getting really, really big now, I think. Probably like leaves my head size. So mine obviously is not there, but this is one of my favorite plants in my entire collection. And when I saw hers with that silvery kind of splashing on the leaves, like mine has, I was hooked. I immediately knew that was gonna be my top wish list plant. And one of my coworkers was so kind and actually got her for me for Christmas. So I love this plant. And again, those leaves are just absolutely beautiful. This one does have a little bit of spider mite damage, just because obviously the spider mites, even though weren't on her very long, did get to her a little bit, but she still looks quite pretty despite that. So I'm happy that she doesn't look too terrible. The new leaf, again, slightly questionable. I don't know what's gonna happen with that one. It might just end up being really wonky, but in general, I really love this plant and I can't recommend it enough. All right, so next up, I want to talk about some plants that Claire over at the Jungle Haven has influenced me to purchase. So these are a little bit sadder. I will say I think I probably do a little bit better with philodendron than some of these, but we're still going to talk about them because I don't want to, you know, hide anything from you guys. So I'm going to start with, I think, the saddest looking one. This is my Monstera dubia. As you can see here, she has a little bit of struggles going on. She did come to me with these crispy little bits on her. Don't know kind of what was going on there. And then she started putting out super tiny leaves. She put out a runner for me actually at one point. I think that was right after I got her. And then she put out super tiny leaves. And then her leaves started getting really weird. So I did actually chop her. So then she put out these 3 leaves. Which, okay, they're going sideways, but whatever makes her happy. And she also actually put out this new vine from the base. And I will say I am actually much happier with the new vine coming out of the base. I feel like these leaves are doing a lot better than I think the other original vine is. I don't really know what I want to do with this one. Claire has hers growing up, a really, really beautiful plank, and hers is gorgeous. I feel like that takes a lot of work to at least get set up, and I am just not there yet. I really probably should work on that and see kind of what I can make happen. But so far, this is where we're at. We're on a stick. Was on like a coir pole for a little while. I don't like coir poles. I've tried them, I think, once or twice, and I know that they're kind of like the default. They're advertised a lot. I don't enjoy them. I don't appreciate them. I do not want them in my collection. I think that they just cause more problems than they solve. So it is on a stake, and I'm gonna see kind of what happens. I think maybe with some support, she might start growing a little bit more regularly, but we'll see. I do have her obviously like clipped on here with my dragonfly clips, which actually, shout out to Fern. I purchased dragonfly clips because of her, and honestly, one of the best plant purchases, like hands down. If you do not use dragonfly clips on your plants to keep like the vines attached to moss poles or attached to stakes or what have you, you are missing out. It is the best hack ever, and I love it. So I do actually have quite a few plants that have these little dragonfly clips on them now. And again, they're working pretty well. Sorry, that was an ADHD moment. It looks like it has actually a new growth point coming out too, which I'm actually really excited about. Okay, so I have slightly more hope in this plant than I did about 5 seconds ago. But yeah, I think this one definitely needs some more. Yeah, leave me a comment down below to give me motivation to overhaul this plant, do something with her, because it's shameful. She is really a beautiful plant, and I think has the potential to have really big, beautiful leaves like Claire's. I mean, hers are bigger than my hand and fenestrated, and they are beautiful. And I would really, really like to have a plant like that one day, but it's gonna take some work on my part, I think. So I really probably should start putting in that effort to this Monstera dubia. All right, next on the list of plants that I've bought because of Claire is this Scindapsus. Again, this one is not in the best shape. It's not in the worst, like there's nothing wrong with it. It's not as bad as the dubia is by any means, but its leaves are getting really, really small. And I actually think that this is a light issue. So for most plants, when they start giving you like really small leaves, it's usually because they are seeking more light. At least in my experience, they want more light, and in order to size up, they need that light. The Scindapsus, I think, is actually the opposite. I think it's giving me smaller leaves because it's getting too much light, and it's on my pothos wall in the bedroom right now, and I've been saying that I need to move it for ages, and I haven't yet because I don't have anything else to put on the wall in its place. So I'm still waiting. I do actually have a plan for this one though. I'm planning on maybe putting up some new plant shelves soon. I'm gonna need to talk Chris into putting those up for me. And that should be kind of in an upcoming video, I think. But this one I think will be much happier when it has less light. And I would be really excited to have a beautiful full pot of this like Claire does. Again, she's what influenced me to purchase this in the first place. So I really would like to have a beautiful pot like she does, but we are not there yet. So I might actually like chop and prop these vines. I think that they could probably start, you know, filling in the plant as they go since they are so small, but we'll see. So far this is my Scindapsus. Okay, and the last plant that I purchased because of Claire is this. This is a fishbone cactus. I think you guys saw me unbox it last week, I think, or maybe the week before. This is a really, really cool plant. Actually, I kind of purchased this because of Claire and Becca from Becca De La Plants. That is just such a cool plant, and they have huge, like trailing versions of the fishbone cactus, and I think they are just the coolest things. Mine right now is obviously still pretty small. And one of you did kindly inform me that this stick that I was so worried about over here and didn't know what that was, it is a fishbone cactus. It will actually, I guess, continue to expand as it grows, which I was not aware of, so thank you for letting me know. But yeah, this is just a really cool plant. I don't have a whole lot to say about it yet. just because I haven't had it for very long, but it seems to be pretty happy in my possession. It actually does need a water, so I'll probably do that today. But yes, one I'm happy to own, and I'm happy to see kind of what I can get it to do because of Claire. So my light is getting weird fast, so I gotta get through the rest of this video. Next up, I want to talk about plants that Charmaine from UnPlantParenthood has gotten me to purchase. She has so many beautiful plants. Her collection is truly enviable. And every single time I watch one of her videos, I kind of add a new plant mentally to my wish list. Most recently, her Dioscorea discolor has stolen my heart. And I really, really want one, but I'm holding off because plant purchases impulsively are not usually a good idea. So I'm waiting. But in the meantime, there are some that she's definitely influenced me to purchase. And number one of those, and one of my favorite plants in my entire collection, is my Philodendron Mexicanum. As you can see, she is a big girl. She kind of goes all over the place. Right now, she is kind of in a interesting position at this south-facing window, so it's kind of gotten all her leaves turned in different directions, but I am working on it. Anyways, though, Charmaine's is absolutely gorgeous. I'll try to maybe pop in a photo of hers here from her Instagram. It is so pretty, and I saw on her YouTube channel her talking about her Mexicanum, and I was hooked. I immediately knew that was a plant that I had to have, and I'd never really seen anyone talk about this plant until her. I don't know if it's just not a really popular plant, and I don't know why it wouldn't be, because like, guys, look at like this one in particular. Look at the back of this leaf. Like the color of this leaf, the back is just this deep dark maroon, and it is the prettiest thing. And honestly, like these bunny ears on these baxial, or not these baxials, sorry, these bunny ears on these like lobes are just so cool, and I love them. This one is the most recent leaf. It's not quite as mature as the previous one, I think probably because I have been moving it around. It is though completely rooted into this moss pole, which I am so proud of, honestly. Like it is just taking over this moss pole, and it I think is probably my best moss pole success story thus far. She is climbing right up and wasting no time in rooting in every single time. Like even this top one is already rooted. So she is an absolute trooper, grows like a beast, and has the prettiest leaves. So Charmaine definitely is at fault for me purchasing this plant, and all I can do is thank her for it because I love my Mexicanum. It is such a gorgeous plant, and if you guys don't have one, I don't know why. I think this plant is super underrated and should definitely be talked about more. Okay, so next up is kind of funny. With Charmaine, she has a lot of really, really beautiful plants that right now for me, I'm gonna say are unattainable. And not because I can't purchase them, but because it probably wouldn't be wise for me to purchase a plant that I don't know that I can keep alive. So next on my list, I actually put down Holy Monstera. And hers, I believe, is actually an Esqueleto. She has an Esqueleto, and she has, oh, she has another one, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. However, I never wanted one of these like Holy Monsteras until I started watching Charmaine's channel. I feel like for whatever reason, she had the power to influence me to buy them, and it's gorgeous. I bought this actually at Ansonii at a, oh, it is dripping all over me. That's good. That's good. It just got watered. So recently at a big box store, and again, I had no interest in them until watching Charmaine grow her Esqueleto, and I guess that's what got me hooked. So I decided I would try it out in Ansonii, see how it did, see if I could keep it alive and keep it happy. Thus far, oh man, it's growing through the leaf. That's not ideal. But other than that, thus far it is pretty happy, I will say. I've had it in the greenhouse because anything new that I purchased lately, I do pop right in the greenhouse just for pest management purposes. Oh no. I don't like this at all. Oh my goodness. There we go. Sorry, little guy. Okay, but it's growing through itself here and causing quite a mess, but I do pop any new plants from like a big box store directly into the warehouse just for pest management purposes. I have quite a few ladybugs in there, as anyone who watched, I think, my last video can attest. So I've been letting them kind of take care of any pest concerns for me. And honestly, this one looks pretty clear. So I am thinking about maybe spraying it down and putting it inside my house now, and seeing if I can keep this one alive and maybe add the escaleto to my wish list someday soon, because that is really the one that Charmaine has most influenced me to want to purchase. But I refuse to purchase an escaleto until I know that I can keep an Adansonia alive. So I need you guys to hold me accountable for that. Do not let me make any impulsive escaleto purchases, please. Especially not if Charmaine keeps on showing her beautiful one. Again, these leaves were always so weird to me, and then something about hers got me hooked. So thank you, Charmaine, for influencing me to buy this super pretty Adansonii that I never thought that I would own, and influencing me to now want an escaleto. All right, and last but not least on my list of Charmaine plants is my Alocasia micholitziana. So I actually don't know if Charmaine has a micholitziana or not. However, I do know that she has a Frydek, and anyone who watched my wishlist plant video, and I'll try to link it here for you, knows that I purchased, sorry, I thought there was a spider mite. I purchased a micholitziana as a precursor to purchasing a Frydek. My thought process being, if I can keep a micholitziana alive and happy, then maybe I can justify purchasing a Frydek, because they are a green form and variegated form of the same plant. So I will definitely thank Charmaine for making me want a Frydek so badly. Hers is, again, so gorgeous, and mine, micholitziana right now, is thirsty, so don't mind her droopiness. She was getting watered a moment ago, but her Frydek, not micholitziana, her Frydek is so gorgeous. The leaves are so beautiful, so marbly, and just so gorgeous looking that it's hard not to immediately want to buy that plant. But I don't want to buy it and then kill it, so this is my trial run, and I can definitely thank Charmaine for this being on my list and in my possession. I really love this plant. Actually, the green version is still absolutely gorgeous. It hasn't put out like the super mature veiny leaves yet. This is probably the closest one that it has. And it did actually lose a few leaves as a result of the shipping incident. If you guys saw, the leaves came in pretty soggy, so I will say that. But it is a pretty thirsty plant. I don't know if that's just because it's in the greenhouse or not, but I am watering it, like I said, right now. So I'm probably gonna go pop it back in water, and then I'll pick up where I left off. But yes, so thank you, Charmaine, for causing me to purchase this micholitziana. Okay, so the next plant tuber that has caused me to empty my pockets just a little bit more is YouDontEvenGrowHere. Alice from YouDontEvenGrowHere has just, again, a gorgeous collection. She is kind of like the queen of anthuriums, at least in my mind, on my YouTube feed. Most of her collection appears to be anthuriums, and I never wanted anthuriums before watching her videos. I actually was super suspicious of them because I had heard they were pretty fussy, and I didn't want to purchase a plant that I was going to kill, because it really breaks my heart whenever, you know, a plant of mine dies. Even though it happens infrequently, it still, you know, can cause a little bit of heartache. So she definitely has influenced me to purchase anthurium, and I will say the first one I got because of her is probably this guy. So this is my Anthurium crystallinum. I actually don't know if she has the straight up crystallinum. However, again, same case as with Alice. I wanted to make sure that I could keep one alive before I kept going. So this crystallinum is kind of known for being a really great starter Anthurium. They are fairly hardy. I haven't really had any major issues with it aside from the thrips. And it has lost one leaf in my care, and the oldest ones are yellowing, but quite honestly, I did expect that. When anthurium have an environmental shift, they are more likely to drop the oldest leaves that were grown in a different environment and just retain the newest ones. So far, so good. This one appears to be pretty happy in my collection. It is a fairly thirsty plant, so I do have to water it pretty regularly. And I do have it in the south window, but it's a little bit shorter than the south window, so it doesn't get blasted by sun. It just kind of gets right and direct all day. And it seems to really enjoy that. And again, I mean, this is the newest leaf that's put out in my care. What a gorgeous leaf. I just cannot. It is so pretty. I think Anthurium in general are just some of the most gorgeous leaves. Obviously philodendron have beautiful leaves, but they're more like giant climbing, you know, just different kind of vibes than Anthurium. Anthurium can give you huge, beautiful, veiny, gorgeously detailed leaves, and I am in love. There are a few Anthurium on my wish list right now. Some of them I don't know if I'll ever get, but some of them, you know, I think could be attainable if I can know that I can keep them alive. So that is what my crystallinum is doing here for me. And I truly do love this plant. And so far, so good. Like, she's doing great for me. So I would actually say, if you don't have any Anthurium, to reach out. Nope. To check out Anthurium crystallinum. They seem to be pretty hardy, and again, mine is growing really well for me. So Alice, thank you for getting me into Anthurium. I do appreciate it, though my wallet does not. And this is my crystallinum. Okay, so next up on my Alice list is this one. She, I think, is kind of really well known for, at least in my mind, having really big, beautiful gloriosum. And this one is definitely meeting that mark for me. Sorry, I'm just checking the backs of this leaf. I don't actually get to look at this plant fairly often. It is one of my greenhouse residents, and it seems to be enjoying itself. It's actually putting out a whole new spike right there. I hope you guys can see that. Maybe that's a little bit better. So it's doing really well for me, actually, and I'm very proud of this plant. I do hope that someday soon I can move it inside. This was the original perpetrator of the thrips outbreak, I believe, so I am a little bit hesitant to just pop it back inside, but I think it might be getting to the point where it would be okay. So fingers crossed, we'll see. But definitely I can thank Alice for influencing me to buy a gloriosum. I don't know, I don't have anything against crawlers. I think a lot of people, you know, kind of complain about crawlers. They don't like crawlers. They take a lot of space and they cause problems in their collection space-wise, which I can absolutely understand. I mean, if you're tight on space, having a giant pot for a plant is, you know, not ideal. But I think for a gloriosum, it is pretty worth it. These leaves are so pretty, so velvety. And this one I think actually grew with a lot of light, which is why it's very, very exaggeratedly heart-shaped. Light can change the shape and appearance of your leaves very easily. So for instance, if you give pothos a lot of light, they grow kind of more elongated. If you give Scindapsus a lot of light, like we talked about earlier, the leaves get smaller. And I think for gloriosum, they get more exaggerated heart-shaped and they get a little bit squatter. So I'm interested to see what happens as I start moving it kind of inside and seeing, you know, if I can transition it. But this one in particular is gorgeous. I think this is probably the most recognizable plants other than Anthuriums that I can thank Alice for. And I wanted to share it with you guys because I haven't shown it in a while. So Alice, thank you again for influencing me to buy yet another really beautiful plant. Again, leaves are super, super pretty, and I'm really happy to have this one, honestly. Okay, so last Alice plant, I would definitely say, you guys probably know what it is. You saw me on wrap it or unbox it recently, but it is my little Rhipsalis. I did get 2 Rhipsalis in that unboxing, so it's not just this one, it's also my mistletoe Rhipsalis, but this one in particular I have wanted for a while. I saw a few people have it, and it wasn't until Alice was kind of talking about hers and the environment that she keeps it in and how she kind of styles it that I really decided, yep, we're getting one. So I did purchase this one. This is a Rhipsalis Paradoxa. And as you can see here, hopefully, there we go. It has a really, really cool kind of growth pattern. It changes back and forth and kind of gets, you know, different flat sides as it grows. And I think that is just really cool. Honestly, it's a very unique plant. It is a jungle cacti, so it does like a little bit more humidity, a little bit more moisture, and a little bit less sun than your traditional cacti do, but it is still pretty succulent. I'm treating this one much like I treat my Hoya. Its soil, I would say, is maybe a little bit denser, but I haven't repotted it yet, so we'll see how it does in this soil. But I think this one, definitely I can attribute to Alice. Thank you, Alice, for having me bring this beautiful plant into my life. I'm really happy with it, and I really love, you know, watching videos and seeing gorgeous plants and just knowing that, you know, one day maybe I could have that one in my collection too. So yep, my Ripsalis is one of those, and I'm really happy to have her. Hey, we are on my last plant, and I am so happy because this video, I feel like I've been talking for like an hour and a half. You guys probably won't see the full hour and a half, but I definitely feel it. So last plant tuber I want to acknowledge as having contributed to my plant buying habit is HakunaLaPlanta. Kevin from HakunaLaPlanta seems like just a really, really nice, genuine person, and I recently discovered his videos, so I can't say that I have as many plants that he's influenced me to purchase as someone like Fern or Becca has kind of caused me to purchase. But one in particular, I've definitely been influenced by Kevin, and you guys would have seen her recently, but this is my strawberry shake. I really love this plant. And Kevin just has a really gorgeous one, specifically, actually multiple really gorgeous ones. His are really beautifully variegated and huge. And when I saw, you know, how beautiful his strawberry shake was, I had already wanted a strawberry shake for ages, but I decided to just go for it because his grow so well and they're so pretty. And you know what? I wanted to treat myself. So I did go ahead and purchase this one, as you guys know, and she's doing really well. I'm glad I got to update you guys on her too. So far, so good. She hasn't put out a new leaf for me quite yet, but I do see one forming. I am hopeful that she will continue to have this beautiful high variegation for me, and that maybe one day I could have one as large as Kevin's. So I definitely love this plant. Thank you, Kevin, for influencing me to purchase her. And hopefully I will find more plants that I want to purchase while I continue watching Kevin's videos. I know that the more videos that I watch, the more that I'm gonna see his collection and fall in love with some plant somewhere. So if you guys see any of those plants end up on my list soon, you'll know what happened. All right, guys, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I felt like it was a really long one, but I wanted to share with you my, some of my favorites in my collection and why I have them. Obviously, as I mentioned, there are a lot of YouTubers out there, and I, being an avid YouTube watcher, have seen a good amount of videos that I can say for sure have influenced me to buy some of my plants. And I don't know if you guys are the same way, but if you are, I would love to hear from you down below what plants you've purchased because you've seen them in someone's video, because I can't imagine that I'm the only one, but I would still love to hear. And if you like this kind of video, leave me a thumbs up. There is a subscribe button down below. I do post new videos once a week, and I would love to see you guys around here more often. But that is it for today's video. So I hope you enjoyed, and thanks so much. Bye.